were almost like mock-ups, and we could show that within 4 or 5 weeks we can set something up, and it costs only maybe 50,000, and everybody got super excited about it. But then it led to a bit of frustration in the business a bit later on in the process, because obviously you don't really change the whole nature of insurance in 4 weeks with $50,000, and then the problems start hitting you a bit later on in the process. So now I think we are still navigating this fine line of let's do something very quickly, but at the same time let's also make sure that we do address all of the potential implementation issues. So how do I, and one of the big things is always how do I really connect these systems with my existing IT and legacy? How does it work? What are the data security standards requirements? And what we have done is we've created very simple, lean, streamlined processes to make all of this a lot easier and faster, but still putting into a much more of a realistic context than we maybe did in the very beginning. And I think that's more that's on the one hand a bit of learning on our end, but it's also the progression of where we stand as a company, and where and the understanding that people have gotten around how to really get these things to work.
I was just going to pick up on the concept of how much time it takes, because years ago I was dealing with a big enterprise customer. It was a big bank in New York that happened to be very entrepreneurial, and they said, you've got to deliver a solution within 6 months. And the reaction of our team was, that's crazy, we're talking about a huge project. How can you deliver results in 6 months? And what he meant was, you've got to show to a stakeholder some result within 6 months. It's not the total result, you're going towards a bigger objective, but show something within 6 months. Because what you don't want, and a lot of big enterprises have had this problem, is 3 years later you're saying, and what did we get out of that? And you hear disaster stories where 3 years later, fortunes invested, and virtually no result. And startups will never get that, because startups are always on milestone-based financing. If you're not delivering something, you're not getting the next round of funding. So I think in big companies, it's starting to change, and people are starting to think more about timescales and milestone-based financing.
And what we like a lot, also to address your point, is we like to do some kind of profit share with the startups that we work with, so that we all work towards the same milestones and have the same incentives. So we're going away from this fee-based model to let's show results together, and then we can split the profits that we generate from this.
Great. Well, we're kind of running through the list I had. Are there any last words from either our speakers or from the audience? Oh, sorry. One more question.
One more question, yes. I recently talked to someone who was active in China as well on change management, and he said culture is way different. Do you have any experience? Is Swiss culture different than UK, or you work in a global function when it comes to implementation of innovation in fintech?
Yes.
Sorry,
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the biggest issues with cultural is actually when the cultures are very similar, because then you get to think, there's no issue, like between a Brit and an American. Similar language, similar law, similar everything, except fundamentally different cultures. Whereas if you get to China or India or Thailand, you say, this is a new culture that I must study. So the problem usually comes when it's a reasonably similar culture that you think, I don't have an issue.
But yeah, I do see a lot of cultural differences, starting from the key topics that people are interested in, to implementation, to working with the business partners. So yeah, lots of differences.
Just echo Bernard says, you actually go more prepared into like a market like China than you do for UK and US, even from Switzerland, or even Europe, because you just think it's so similar everywhere. For me, my experience though divides into two areas. One is engagement. So if I am looking to work with people with my organization, so those reporting to me or involved in my organization, versus decision makers. So for example, in Switzerland, things are very consensus driven. Like you have to have like 15 people sign up on something essentially. Whereas in like an Asia market or American market, you have single decision makers. You have a meeting with one person who's like, we're doing it, and you walk up and like, you, this is what we're doing. There's no question. In Switzerland, be like, okay, I'll take it back to my people, and we'll get back to you. My people talk to your people, and there's not a right or wrong here. It's just you need to be prepared for how you're going to invest your time and what you prepare.
Great. Any last words from the panelists on the subject today?
Landing POCs takes long and is hard work, so just stick at it.
Persistence.
It takes time and just stick at it.
I guess.
I can echo that. For me, I can only repeat myself again. The most important thing, or the most important learning for me, has been from the corporate side. Always have a very, very clear business sponsor who knows exactly what he wants, and on the startup side as well, be prepared to be flexible and work on the use case that is relevant for the corporate. Even if it may not be exactly, what you had in mind.
So I was just going to make one extra comment about going beyond the proof of concept.
Right.
Because neither party goes into the proof of concept saying that's my objective. It's only to prove something, to build something for real. And one of the things that I learned was just the difference in scale between the objectives of a venture funded startup and the objectives of a big Fortune 500 corporation. And somebody said a Fortune 500 corporation is creating multiple unicorns every year, which is far different from, say, a venture fund that if they get one unicorn or two unicorns in a 10-year lifespan, that's great. Right. So there's a huge difference in scale, which I know is one of the issues that you were talking about earlier.
Great. Well, I want to thank our panel. As we said, it's a short but sweet session here today. They are going to be around for the better part of the next hour. A few have to leave, so make sure if you do have questions, you go in and say hi and exchange cards. But I know you're all actively involved in the topic of POCs on an ongoing basis and can each, I think, offer perspective as this goes on. But, thank you as well to the audience today. It's great to have you all here. A reminder, we have usually about half and half members and non-members in the audience. If you're not a member of the association, I'd be happy to talk to you about the benefits afterwards, but please give it some thought. We have a great website and a load of other benefits you can enjoy. For those of you who are members, you're going to be getting a newsletter in the next 2 weeks about our General Assembly, which is going to come up before the end of May. And last but not least, you'll notice we film, as usual, the events. We have lots of great content, not only on the website, also coming out in our newsletter, as well on Twitter and the YouTube channel. So if you're not already a follower, make sure you check us out there as well. And that's it for today. I believe the buffet is ready, right?
Yes.
And drinks are available on the table. If you'd like anything else, we can ask the waiter to come by and make sure you get a chance to order. But otherwise, thank you again, and please enjoy the meal.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.